All right. Okay. So I think I'm finally live on all of the venues. This is Coach Kim Tops. I am with Top Resume Coaches here cheering you on and helping you get to your next level with your resume and career planning tips on Tuesday. And we are live on Clubhouse, live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn at Top Resume Coaches on all social media outlets. And then we are top www.topresumecoaches.com is our website. Do me a favor and connect with us, follow, subscribe, so that you know when we're doing events and when we're going live and what we're sharing. Have some exciting opportunities coming up for you and for your students. If you have kids, I'll be talking resumes for them as well. So I don't want you to miss any of those things. And if you're listening to the replay, put hashtag replay. But hope you had a wonderful Tuesday and that everything is well. And today our topic is going to be know your worth. And when you know your worth and when you know who you are, then you know what your worth is, right? And so it's a combination of two things. When you know who you are, then there's some things that you're just not going to do. There are expectations there because you do understand your value, you do understand your worth, and you do understand what it is that you bring to the table. And so that is going to be our focus. So, hi, Mr. Hutchison. Hi, Sugar Love. And if you have any questions, please put your questions in the comments section, or if you want to send me a heart, we love hearts too. But let's jump right in with our topic today. So the first thing I want you to understand when you know your worth is, number one, you must do a self-assessment. And if you are not a good self-assessor, you need to join me at Star Coaching so I can show you how to do that, because it should never be a surprise to you, because you are always evaluating yourself. You know what it is that you bring to the table. You know what your skills are. You know what your qualifications are. You know what your experiences are. And when you know that, it's easier to know what your worth is, because you already know coming in, this is the value that I bring to the team. This is the value that I bring into a relationship. So knowing your self-assessment is not just for your career. It's a good skill, and a good skill to have no matter where you are in life and what you're trying to do. But consider your education, your certifications, your training, and any relevant achievements. And a lot of times working with my clients, I spend like so much time trying to pull out what it is that you've done. Y'all forget, you don't toot your own horn. You forgot that you got all these awards, and you could have got an award a year ago. You just forget, right? Because you're in these toxic work environments. You're under toxic leadership, and you just forget your value. So what it is, whether you're in a toxic work environment or not, do not ever forget your value and what it is that you bring to the table. That is a part of knowing who you are. And so that first one is very important, is to conduct a self-assessment so you know exactly where you are and what you're bringing to the table. The second tip that I want to share with you is to do your research, right? A lot of you all have no idea what someone in your field, in your industry, with your level of experience should be making, because you don't know. You have no earthly idea. You don't even know where to go. You need to get in my inbox. You need to be on Top Resume Coaches right now, hitting the get started button, because you don't know. And I need to enlighten you. And a lot of you all right now, currently, roles right now, that you went to a job all day today and you are underpaid. Like, you are way underpaid. Like, you have no idea because you have not done the research. And I always do just a stress test just to see. Let's just go see. Let me put my resume out there. Let me see what another company is offering me for doing the same thing. But they have wonderful websites, Glassdoor, OneTOnline.org, all these great sites that will help you so that you know what your worth is. You put your inner information in, your skills, your education, your certifications, the number of years you worked, your industry, and it will tell you by zip code, by state, by United States, what your worth is and what your starting and ending salary should be. I have a client we've been working with. I don't even took it 30 days. I think we either quadruple or came to a times 5 their original salary. So it is so important, again, for you to know what you're worth and to do the research so you know what they're paying people, what they're paying people coming in. Like, for example, when I first started out in engineering, when I graduated from college, the entering salary was 45K. The entering salary now is, 95, 110K. So you have to kind of know what that is, right? And you have to know what the cost of living in increments are, and just being knowledgeable of what is going on right now in your industry and the trends. So let's go to number 3. And number 3, this is another area where we just don't do it. I don't know why. I can't even tell y'all why. But a lot of the resumes that I look at daily, you don't quantify any of your achievements, like nothing. You don't even, you're working on a multi-billion-dollar project. And you just put in there, I led a project. You led a multi-billion-dollar project. You led even more specific than that, a $7.9 billion project. So who you calling for an interview? Somebody that led a project or somebody that led a $7.9 billion project? Y'all see the difference? And so knowing those specific numbers and metrics add a lot of value and a lot of skills to what it is that you're trying to do. So whether it's your resume, your status report, you're putting this information in for your performance evaluation because you're bidding in on what your next salary is going to be for the next year, those details are like pertinent, right? They're so pertinent. They just are. And so when you don't have them on there, you leave room for people to guess. And most of the time, people are not going to take time out to guess. They don't remember what you did. Your manager don't remember what you did last year. You don't remember, what your input was to the team. He just knows, hey, you turn the stuff in on late, you turn it in on time. They can see that kind of stuff. You did your training plan on time. The training plan is late. Stuff like that. But to be able to quantify exactly what you did and what your impact in your roles, and then even in your previous roles. And where do you do that? Number 4, resume. A lot of you all haven't updated your resume all year. So you don't know what you did because you don't remember. You're not going to remember. So that's why it's important to update your resume. But you want to craft and tailor a resume that shows your experience, that shows the details of your worth, and lets employers, lets hiring managers, lets recruiters know what it is that you bring to the table. And I said all the time, your next level is going to start with your resume. So if it's not up to date, you put my site up here, topresumecoaches.com, hit the get started button, drop in, we'll hit a Zoom, do a 15-minute resume review, talk about your career, and figure out what that is. What's the next steps? This is what we do all day. Again, I have a client text me this week, salary, probably 4.5 times what he was making. I have another client. Our goal right now is to multiply her salary by 5. I said, give me 30 days. So excited for her. I already know I can do that one. That's easy, right? But I'm going to do the things that I just told you. We already did the self-assessment. And let me recap my thoughts on this, knowing your worth. We already did her self-assessment. Now we're going to do the research. And she actually happens to be in the same industry as me. So that one's easy. But you need to do your research so you know what you're worth and what you bring to the table compared to the other people you're sitting in the table with. And one of the things I love about LinkedIn, when you see a role on LinkedIn, it tells you, the research is right there. It'll tell you how many people that are applying with bachelor's degrees. It'll tell you somebody's applying that does not have a degree. It'll tell you who's applying that has a master's degree, PhD, advanced degrees. I mean, it's so good. It'll tell you how many people applied, they had 10 years experience all the way down. So it kind of helps you because it tells you what your competition looks like. But knowing what that research number is key and essential. And if you're joining me late, you want to go back and listen to the part where I went into details, and now I'm just recapping. And then this is number 3, is to quantify your achievements, right? Nobody knows how many projects you led. Nobody knows the amount of money you saved a company unless you tell us. And you got to tell us. You got to tell us in the interview. You got to tell us on the resume. You have to tell us, your hiring manager, in the performance evaluation. So when they're doing your performance evaluation, and they're doing a cute little totem pole where they're trying to figure out, okay, out of 50 people on the team, who's 1 through 50, and then they're deciding who to lay off, they're going to go with the people that are up at the top. So if you're not quantifying your information in your resume, in your status reports, in your presentations, you're leaving money on the table. Stop leaving money on the table. That's in my sweet, cute, nice voice. Stop leaving money on the table because you're not quantifying your achievements. How you do this? Open up a spreadsheet. Keep up with your stuff. Just keep up with your stuff. When I do a review, I can tell you how many comments were technical, how many was editorial, how many were scheduled, how many were risks. I mean, I have that type of detail. It takes me probably 5 seconds to open up that spreadsheet and type that in at the end of a review. And so I'm able to provide detailed status to my stakeholders, detailed status in my status reports. And I even got an award because it said, oh, she did this many comments, gave me an award. And it gave me money to go with the award. I mean, it was just, I'm telling you, it may take 10 seconds. I mean, it's like no effort at all to keep up with that information. So it's really, really important. So then when you get to the performance evaluation or you get to your status report for the week and you're sitting in the meeting, your boss will say, well, Joan, what did you do this week? You'd be like, oh, I just did this. You're missing out on that opportunity. Give the details, quantify, give the results, and talk about your achievements and what you've done. And then, of course, last but not least, that information needs to be crafted and tailored on your resume. And again, if you are still sending out resumes, that same one old good resume that you had from 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and you're bulk sending that out, that's why your phone is not ringing. That's why nobody is contacting you. You have to tailor your resume for the role. And then you have to add in all those little details that we just talked about, the quantifying, the results. If you save the company time, so instead of taking 14 days, you do it in 7, you know how much money that is? That's a lot of money. So I think you got my point about knowing your worth. And it's so important as you go and you leave out your house to know who you are when you enter, know who you are when you leave. Show up as your authentic self. Be who God has created you to be. And I'm telling you, always will be on top. But you have to know your worth so you know what it is that you bring to the table, what that you're offering these companies and these organizations that you're a part of. And so when that starts to change or it's not moving in a direction, but you should always be soaring to your next opportunity. And if it's not moving in that direction, then you know you need to do some self-assessments and, hey, put it out there. Drop into my timeline and drop into my messages, go to our site, topresumecoaches.com and hit the get started button. Let's look at it. You'll never know. And I mean, I just recently, my boss sent me an email because we didn't go through we merged with another company. So we didn't go through the actual formal performance review that we normally go through where you get the opportunity to tell all that. So he sent me an email, a letter, and like, oh, this is your raise. And I said, okay, that's cute. Because I already know what I bring to the table. So I already know what my percentage is. And I know what number I'm looking for because I have companies and managers and people, not just in my messages, but they're offering me jobs. Like my resume is so good. They look at my resume, say, get her in here, offer her this job. They're like in my inbox every week. So I kind of knew what my worth was as far as what it is that I'm doing that's relevant to the job that I'm doing now. But even more detailed, taking the time out to do that research and finding out, in your zip code, with the level of skills that you have, the level of degrees that you have, the level of experience. And some of you are like, well, I don't have no degrees, but you got 20 years experience. That's like 5 degrees right there, right? So knowing what that is, and then you're able to negotiate. So I scheduled a meeting with my manager, and I said, this was the number I was thinking more like, and he was going to say yes or no, but I was going to be like, okay, it's time for me to go. And he was like, we heard you, Kim. We heard you. Here you go. Just like that. Here you go. But he also did ask me, he said, what is it that you do? What is it that you bring to the table? Pulled out that spreadsheet. It listed all. I didn't have to go update it. It's up to date. It's up to date. So I update as I go. And then if you're not that person, update at the end of the week. Update every 3 days. Whatever it is that you're doing, because it depends on what industry you're in and what you're doing. But you must be able to quantify your results and figure it out. It is what it is that you're bringing to the table. And so that you know what that worth is. And so when somebody puts that number out there, you're like, that's not my number. Look, I know my numbers. Know your numbers. And be able to explain that. And then if it's not what you want, don't be scared to ask. You have not because you ask not. So ask for what it is that you want. Ask for what it is that you need. But make sure that you are on your A+ game. You are delivering. you are delivering and exceeding expectations, not on your own personal expectations, but your company's expectations are. There are no issues. You're not taking 2-hour lunch breaks and you're going to get one. You're not showing up 15-20 minutes late. You can't do that and then ask for those numbers. You just can't. You have to be able to serve and lead and work in that realm that you are in, right? So that people will want to pay you what it is that you're worth. But when you're worth, you'll show up in excellence, right? And again, I've been on this because I had people stop me. I was at an event, somebody stopped me. I heard you, what you were talking about on perfectionism. They was like, I didn't know I suffered with perfectionism until you said that. And I said, because you think it needs to be perfect, and it doesn't. It just needs to be excellent. And when you do your best, and I have to take my little 5-year-old nephew, and y'all go back and listen to our walks from last week. But he was just like, just do your best. And I'm telling you, my little nephew, he's so smart. He had his first day of kindergarten yesterday. I was working with him and I was like, this is kindergarten math. And I was like, he finished in like 10, 15 minutes. I said, this is not hard enough for him. I said, let me see how much he knows. I gave him 3rd grade math problems and he could solve them. 5 years old, kindergarten, 3rd grade math. So again, do your best and then watch, everything else will fall in place. So that is your resume career planning tips for Tuesday. Again, if you have not liked and connected with us and subscribed, please do so. And I apologize for being so early today when the school goes back in and officially over with summer. I will switch back to the earlier time, but I had a conflict at 8. But I did not want to miss this opportunity to be able to connect with you live and to be able to answer your questions or address any concerns that you may have. And then, of course, if you have any topics that you would love for me to talk about, hey, drop them in the chat, send me a message. But of course, as you go throughout the rest of this quarter and this season, just remember to know your worth, and you'll show up to work a lot different. You'll pull your shoulders back and hold your head up, and you'll have a little pep in your step, and you'll straighten your bow tie, you put on your pearls, and you just have just a different energy about yourself because you know who you are and you know what you're worth. So again, I am Coach Kim Tops with Top Resume Coaches, here to help you get to the next level with your resume and career tips. So you all enjoy your evening, and thanks for listening. And I'm Mr. Aaron. Y'all have a great evening.